أولا شكرا لتواجدك معنا في غرفة أخبار اللي هي تابعة للCFI ميديا. كما تعلم نحن يعني مشروعنا أن ننقل الرسالة من المجتمع الدولي إلى المجتمع المحلي، مقدرين جهودكم في حل مشكلة صافر وأزمة صافر. لدي بعض الأسئلة سأطرحها عليك الآن.
شكرا جزيلا. That's fine.
سؤالي الأول: تعاني اليمن من أزمة تمويل حادة في المساعدات الإنسانية. في وسط هذه الأزمة ظهرت أزمة ناقلة صافر. هل تعتقد يعني من وجهة نظرك أن حملة التمويل الذي أخذت لصافر أثرت على عملية التمويل الإنساني في اليمن؟
Well, thank you very much for the question. I can understand why people would be asking that question. I have to say, on the humanitarian side, we were able to get pledges of $1.2 billion in the pledging event earlier this year, slightly lower than last year with $1.3 billion. Like last year, though, I believe we will continue to raise additional funding throughout the year, and I hope we can achieve approximately $2 billion by the end of the year. The صافر funding is actually a separate kind of funding. It doesn't necessarily come from humanitarian contributions from donors. It comes from sometimes environmental or other kinds of sources from donors. It comes from the private sector as well. So I don't see the two competing with each other. In fact, they are complementary, because a spill of the صافر would magnify the humanitarian crisis in Yemen. Number one, it would block the port of Hodeidah, which is the primary entry point for food in general, not just food assistance. And that alone would cause a major food insecurity problem for many, many weeks, if not months. And the possibility of diverting to other ports is problematic because of the congestion that would happen in those ports. So it would, at a minimum, even if food could get through a variety of other ports, a lot of land transport would be involved, driving up the cost, causing also food insecurity. So this is, in my view, an insurance policy for the humanitarian action in Yemen, a necessary one. And then we're not even talking about the 200,000 households that would lose their income because their fisheries grounds are destroyed. They too would become now dependent on food assistance, asking for assistance in a very limited budget. So it would just exacerbate totally the problem. It's the best insurance policy we can have for humanitarian assistance in Yemen.
طيب، لاحظنا منذ إعلان خطة إنقاذ صافر من قبل الأمم المتحدة أنها أغلقت الجانب التوعوي للمجتمعات المحلية المحيطة بمنطقة الحديدة التي تتواجد حول ناقلة صافر. ليس هناك خطة يعني خط ساخن، وليس هناك أيضا رسائل لتطمين السكان والصيادين والمزارعين حول أبعاد هذه المشكلة.
Well, I think we've tried to work to primarily secure support for the operation up until now, both financially as well as politically. I know a lot of social media has reported on our efforts inside Yemen, whether in Hodeidah or around the country. So I think a lot of information has gone. This is a little bit different than your typical, it's not a humanitarian operation per se. So it's not the same thing as delivering food assistance where you would have facilities like hotlines, because there are individuals involved in receiving that assistance. So it's a little bit different structure than a humanitarian operation. It's an offshore operation that really does not touch, in terms of the operation, the population around Hodeidah. What we're trying to do is protect them, basically. And so we have actually developed contingency plans in the event that there might be an oil spill, so that we could deploy Yemeni to clean up if that actually ever happened. Hopefully we're there fast enough now that it won't happen, but we have those plans in place. Secondly, we're really working very hard in Hodeidah to find the means to address the issue of landmines, which is probably the greatest threat to civilians in the Hodeidah area. We are now mobilizing additional resources to confront the landmine threat in Hodeidah. And that's one of the other major initiatives that I would like to see accelerate in 2023. And I put a lot of effort into that personally. And I hope to do something similar as we have done with the صافر, when it comes to landmines throughout Yemen. It's an equal emergency, maybe a greater emergency for the people of Yemen, and we need to have that same international mobilization against landmines and unexploded ordnance.
هل وضعتم في الاعتبار التواصل مع المجتمع المحلي المحيط بصافر وهم الصيادين بالدرجة الرئيسية؟ ما الذي ينبغي عليهم فعله في أثناء قيامكم بعملية النقل؟ هل هنالك مثلا طلبتم منهم التوقف عن الصيد؟ هل سيتم إبلاغهم متى التوقف عن الصيد أو ما هي الإجراءات الاحترازية لكي تؤدوا عملية النقل بسلام؟
Basically, the fishing communities in particular should be able to continue uninterrupted with their work. The FSO صافر, as you know, is offshore, a long distance. There's not been any fishing in that area anyway because it's a restricted zone, as you know. We're only asking for a 1 kilometer exclusion zone around the صافر to allow safe operation for this period of time. But as I said, that shouldn't in itself interfere with any of the fishing activities that are already ongoing. So at this point in time, everyone should be able to continue with their normal activities when it comes to fishing. The FSO صافر operation is an opportunity to build bridges across Yemen to deal with a common threat. And I hope if this operation proves to be successful, and I think it will be, it could be the catalyst for other initiatives that bring Yemenis closer together, and hopefully we will see the end of this conflict and a peaceful return for prosperity for Yemeni in general. We can hope that this is the seed for a future peace, not only to save the livelihoods of everyone there and the access of the port of Hodeidah, but as a confidence-building measure for a better future for Yemen. Thank you.